Welcome, everyone. My name is Sandamali De Zoysa. I'm a senior solutions architect from Snowflake. Been with Snowflake for 2.5 years, and prior to that, I'm ex-Oracle and also spent number of years with a local consulting firm called Tenzing. So I've been involved with, I guess, in my 25-year career, which shows my age, lots of data projects and data platforms and data quality issues, among many other things. So I chose this topic because some of you are data engineers. Actually, how many data engineers here? Maybe hands up. Yeah. Any data governance people? 2, 3, yeah, okay, right. And any admins? Doesn't matter what technology. Yeah, all right, okay. So the topic I chose was around data quality monitoring in Snowflake. This is a fairly new feature which got announced last year towards the end of the year, and it's going to go into what we call public preview end of the month. So I guess I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about it, but this is the agenda I put together for those of you who don't know how what Snowflake is. So I'll touch a little bit on the Snowflake data platform. Then for those people who are in the governance space, we've got a lot of built-in governance capabilities. So that's been branded as Snowflake Horizon. If you work with Snowflake, some of you are my Snowflake customers, you will know we have everything starting with the word snow. So we ran out of the word snow now, like Snow Convert, Snow Mobile, Snow Cat. And now we are looking at other words, I guess, to name our products. And then we'll spend a bit of time talking about data quality monitoring and then into some questions. So, Anthony, my presentation is not as interesting as yours because you had all those pictures of cows and steaks and but of course I had to show this disclaimer statement because I'm talking about a feature that's going to be available and we will take a look at what Snowflake looks like. So Snowflake was built ground up for the cloud. Originally, it was built as a data warehouse, built for data warehouse workloads. In the last, I guess, let me think, 14 years or so, we have introduced other workloads. So a lot of our customers now have moved on from, like using Snowflake as a data warehouse to data lake, data engineering workloads, AI machine learning workloads are coming in. They're also allowing customers to build applications using Streamlit and native applications, a capability that's built into Snowflake. And also some of the customers are using Snowflake for cybersecurity, like collect all the metrics from various applications, like what time users logged in, what time did they do, and do kind of behavioral analytics, etc. The little corner one, Unistore, is we are also beginning to support transactional workloads. And I guess we have the outermost layer marketplace is we have about, let me think, about 2,000 data bits and applications combined available. So things like if you want with the data or for New Zealand, I guess if you want data from Stats or LINS, New Zealand Post, PAF file, those kind of things are now, I guess more and more data is going to be available in marketplace. So the nice thing about it is that you don't have to, if you want to go and enrich your data, then you don't have to go and, ask somebody, hey, send me the file and it arrives as a CSV file. Rather, you go and look in the marketplace and see whether is that data available for you already. So, so we're beginning to see lots of customers in New Zealand. We have about 200 customers who are using Snowflake at the moment. So And this is gradually catching up. The other nice thing, I do a lot of work in the governance space, just because of the nature of because I'm a solutions architect, I have to work with banks and public sector customers, and also healthcare life science customers. So governance is a big thing. We talk about governance almost every day. And the nice thing is Snowflake has got a lot of governance capabilities available, built in, and we're trying to encourage customers to use those rather than go and try to look at something else. Collaboration is another big one. Inside Snowflake, we have introduced what we call data sharing for data sharing for collaboration. So if you wanted to, if you're a bank, say for example, and you want to share data with banks, who would you want to share the data with? So say for example, in New Zealand, you might have a case where IRD and MSD and SEC and all these public sector organizations, they always share data. So if they're on Snowflake, quite easily they can use the secure data sharing capability to I guess share data rather than sending the data through some complex API. This slide is, I won't go into too much detail, but a little bit of a description of what each of our workloads we currently support. A lot of people sort of think of us as only a data warehouse, that we support only data warehouse, but actually, if you think about it, we do quite a lot of these other workloads as well. And the other nice thing is that we are also allowing customers to build applications using Streamlit and native applications framework, etc. Just the architecture for those of you who haven't used Snowflake. The core of our Snowflake architecture is the storage, which is optimized, encrypted, and it supports unstructured, semi-structured, and structured data. The next layer is elastic compute. That is the layer that provides the computing. That's the computing. The memory and the CPU, etc., to run your queries, etc. The other nice thing is, back when we first started, we supported SQL queries, but now you can bring, if you're a Python or a Java developer or a Scala developer, you can just bring your workloads in and you can run them against Snowflake. Cloud services is the light blue layer, is I guess what you call the brain of Snowflake. So that's where all this transaction management, and if you log into Snowflake, how is that access authorized or authenticated, all the security governance, metadata management, all that is done in that light blue layer. And the outermost dotted one is what we call SnowGrid. That's basically that's how you share data using the Snowflake secure data sharing capability, cross-cloud and also cross-region as well. So if you're a customer based in New Zealand, but you want to get some data from somebody who lives who's got a business in the US, or you're a global company and you want to share with other I guess organizations that are scattered around the world, data sharing works quite well as well. So that's a little bit about the architecture. I won't go into spend too much time in there. Snowflake Horizon is our new name, which bundles all the governance capabilities. So today I will talk to you about data quality monitoring, which comes under compliance. So as a platform, we have to be compliant, like HIPAA, HITRUST, ISO. There's a lots of compliance requirements we have to meet, and if customers ask us, like, can you provide the evidence of that compliance? Then we provide those reports available. Data quality monitoring, lineage, sort of all those things come under the compliance banner. Now, for under security, lots of work has gone in. We have got those of you who are using Snowflake, we've introduced now something called Trust Center, which will inside Snowflake, it will detect any kind of violations, and it'll pop up as, I guess, something where an administrator needs to do action. And also all our securities inside Snowflake is controlled through role-based access controls. Privacy is big for all the customers, because a lot of customers have sensitive data, PII. Also, people have PCI data. If you're a bank, then we need to think about how to protect that sensitive data. So, two of the most common methods of protecting sensitive data is inside Snowflake is by using what we call dynamic tag-based masking policies, and also row access policies. Interoperability is another area. So we have got customers who have now Apache Iceberg, and we are making it possible for them to use Iceberg tables and access the compatible catalogs. Snowflake is also doing a lot of work with data governance partners. There are lots of tools in the market, and so we're working with them to closely integrate their tools with Snowflake. And so the idea is they come to Snowflake and read the information and go and populate their side, or if they've got some stuff in there, they might push stuff back to Snowflake. And lastly, classifying data. So say, for example, when you in a data platform, when you get the data, it's really important to find out where did the data come from? Did you source it from a marketplace, or did somebody give it to you in a spreadsheet, in a USB stick, or it arrived or from the internal systems, and then you want to be able to classify that data so that you know whether do I have any sensitive data here. If so, when you build your engineering pipelines, you want to be able to either do some data masking or have some row access policies, etc., in place to protect the sensitive data. So that's all that access part of it. So for those of you who didn't know what Snowflake was, there was a very 2-minute explanation. Taking a look at data quality monitoring. So I asked Anthony earlier, do you have data quality issues? And you said some. So obviously you're lucky, one of those lucky people. You haven't had, sounds like you haven't had too many problems. Mostly, if you look at the customers, doesn't matter what technology you use, these are common challenges for customers. So you have compliance risk. Obviously, I mean, I work closely with banks, but if you need to produce some compliance reporting, and if you don't know the state of your data, because something's happened, something's gone wrong, then you have a risk of running into a compliance risk, and the cost could be huge, right? So that's a big one, and I know a lot of customers I work with, that's very, very top of mind. The first thing is to figure out, okay, is there a compliance risk if something goes wrong? Business risk is if you have got data that's being used by downstream consumers, but your data is 2 days late or jobs failed 1 week late, then possibility of missing SLAs, and maybe there are other clients that you're supposed to provide the data, so then that becomes a business risk, quite an important one as well. And my favorite is credibility. Now I get told, Sandra, that such and such team ingested that data. We don't know what they did. We're going to get our data. So how many of you have heard that? Right? So credibility is a big thing, because in data platforms, people just, if you don't have the right controls in place, then then, like, people don't want to use the data. So then that whole point of, to building and doing everything, all that work it goes to waste, because people are reluctant to use the data, and so that affects the decision making. So the point being that we want to supply good data and quality data to the business to make the right decisions. So tying back to my the topic, I asked the question, what's in it for us as data engineers, data stewards, and platform administrators? If you're a data engineer, you want to be able to programmatically validate the data. Like, you want to be able to say, how fresh is this data? Are there nulls, uniques, duplicates in there? And also, you want to be able to do some ad hoc testing and see whether is it looking okay or not. Should I do something about it if I detect some data that is not of good quality? Now, governance department, data stewards, for example, they most of the time they tell us that they want to proactively know, like, whether there is bad data, whether the data is fresh, whether the data is valid, is it unique. They also want to be able to customize the metrics based on the expectations of the business users. Because sometimes people will say, oh, it's not too bad, because, like, it's only 5% of it having a data quality issue. We can still do, because such and such reporting is not going to get affected. The other thing that data stewards are interested in is historic quality, because over time you want to capture the results and build some dashboards and show whether there's some quality is improving, or whether there's some trend analysis. Lastly, as an administrator, if it was me, I would be pushing for, build once and use many times of mindset, rather than people trying to build these metrics or checks multiple times, and also be consistent. So one of the things that customers sometimes tell us is, within one organization, or the way you check for data quality could be different depending on what's important to each team. So it's not consistent. So what's right for one group of people might not be suitable for the other group. So it's important to think about consistency. And also, when you work with data platforms, and obviously you're dealing with sensitive data as well, you want to make sure that the results are you want to make sure that the privacy and the security aspects are, those controls are still in place. And last one is costs. So when you do data quality monitoring, you want to think about what sort of cost impact are you going to have? Because if you've got a lot of data, what does that mean? A piece of code going and checking the quality of it. So very simple slide here, talking about, in Snowflake, you will define a data quality metric. There's a bunch of metrics available out of the box for standard things like, the uniqueness and nulls, etc., etc. So you can use the out of the box metrics. But if you have business rules, then you can create what we call custom metrics. And then you can configure some measurement. You can say, go and check my quality every 5 minutes, or if you get the data only once a day, maybe check the quality once a day. So it all depends on what your requirements are. Finally, you need to do some monitoring, and Snowflake provides alerting capabilities, so you can go and set up some alerts to say, hey, you got like 20% of your email addresses or 50% of it, whatever, is invalid, and you need to do something about it because something's gone horribly wrong. Okay. So, as technical people in the room, you're wondering if you're SQL, you can, if you're familiar with SQL, you can create what you call a data metric function. And here what we're trying to say is Morgan, the data quality analyst, can create a custom data metric function to check whether the age is valid. So this is what we call a schema level object, and then so there's a new table data type that accepts the entire column, and it's able to evaluate based on the instructions in that predicate what to do, and the return value is stored in your Snowflake account. So that's really important. Those of you who are familiar with Snowflake, we capture the telemetry of, like all the who accessed the data, what queries were run, and what's the lineage of the data, etc., etc. All those information is captured in Snowflake, and we make it available to your Snowflake account. Now, with the data quality monitoring, these metric results are actually stored in your account in what we call an event table. And then you are like here, you can write a custom SQL statement if you've got some business logic you want to check. So I asked data engineers what sort of statements would be right. This is some SQL that from, I guess, that I tested. I put some stuff in here. So if you're a data engineer and you want to do some ad hoc metrics, you can write select a statement that null count is a out of the box function, and then you can say check whether there is null emails in the customers table. Right? Invalid email count, you can pass a regex expression in there, and then you can ask it to evaluate. So the same thing for maximum value, null count, null percent. So you have a bunch of standard quality checks, and then you can create your own custom ones as well. These are the ones that are checked by default. You can check the freshness of data, volume, accuracy, and mins and max and median, and all those things. And if you want to create other things which you would have to based on your requirements, then you create custom metrics. So in 2 slides earlier, we saw how to create a custom metric, but how do we attach it to the data that we have? So this is where we Morgan, the data steward, is now associating these metrics, the null count check, associating it with the ID column, and then got a valid age, which she's associating with the age column. So if you think about, I said earlier, we are pushing for define once these metrics and use them multiple times. So a metric can be associated with multiple columns, and a column can have multiple metrics as well. If you're creating custom metrics, you can put them in a common place so that other people in the platform can use them. What I meant by common place is maybe you might have a governance database with a data quality schema where you will store these custom metrics. The other thing is that it is possible to define periodic metrics to evaluate, periodic measurements to evaluate. And so you don't have to write any code to do these checks. It'll check it automatically behind the scenes, depending on how often you want it to check. And the last thing is the built-in intelligence to check when you define these metrics, you don't want it to scan the entire table all the time, right? So it'll figure out, okay, I've got some new data and I'm going to batch it and I'm going to check this depending on the instructions you give, every 5 minutes or every 1 hour or 24 hours. So that way you keep you have performance efficiency as well as cost controls. One of the most important things is to be able to store these metric measurements that collects these evaluate these metrics and those results, store it in a common place so that people who are doing compliance reporting can run a report out of that. Also, alert if thresholds exceed, and you might use it for some root cause analysis. Or if you're using a data catalog, and then data catalog can read from that and go and populate some stuff on that screen. And also us from Snowflake, we do not have access to your metric data because that event table is created on your Snowflake account. So you might wonder, okay, what are the benefits of using data quality monitoring? I would say consistency, because you define a metric and you use it multiple times. So then you avoid that situation, each group doing their own checks. It's efficient because it's serverless. So that means once you tell it, go and check it every 2 hours, it will, example, then it will go and do that check, so you don't have to create any tasks or stored procedures or what else, jobs to go and check the data quality. And the optimization is to do with it's not going to scan the entire table, only look for the new records and the quality of the data. If you are a customer who are using a data quality tool, Snowflake's doing a lot of work with these. I've only got some logos here, but in data quality monitoring space, Colibra, Monte Carlo, Atacama, some of the products that are out there, they work really well. And so they'll be reading from Snowflake as well as pushing stuff to Snowflake from a governance control. So we're working very hard to get this integration working as well. So what do these metric results look like? This is a sample query I wrote just to show you. I have a table called I have a database called LoyaltyDB that has a schema called Loyalty, which has a table called Customers, and I have got few metrics. So I created an invalid email count metric, and then the results, it shows that there's 2 records invalid. Same for null and unique. It's evaluated, and you can see the metric measurement time here. Now, those of you who are using Snowflake, just pay attention to the from clause. There is a governance, database name, and a data quality schema, and an event tracker. So this is a custom metric, a custom event table that we have at the moment. When this feature goes into public preview, this table will be available for you, and you don't have to create these tables. So the reason why you go in private preview is because then you get feedback from customers, and then you adjust things. How do I know what metrics are in place? I can write a metric function references SQL query to find out what sort of functions are available, have been associated with my customers' table. And I can see I've got some data quality. What do I have? I've got some invalid email count and null count and unique checks in here. In the Snowflake world, with the costs are measured using credits used for credits that you consume, and the credits are calculated per hour, and you only pay for what you use. So you can write a query to find out how many credits have been used for these data quality checks. So that's available. And this is if you are interested in looking at what does the actual, the finer details of it, what works and what are the best practices, etc. You have Snowflake documentation available. Why this is called limited access is because its feature is currently in private preview. I'm hoping by the end of the month it's going to be available for everybody. I will just see whether I can right. Okay. I'm not going to run this, but I'll just talk through some of the things that an example of if you were to set this. So I've got a fake customer loyalty database, and I've got a governance database. So that's what the create database commands are doing here. I'm just using create database command to create the database. And then I'm also creating a schema called data quality inside the governance database. And then loyalty database, I have one table called customers, and that table is going to sit inside the loyalty schema. And I have this statement here, use warehouse. This is how we provide computing, memory and CPU. We use the term computer. So it's saying use the warehouse. I have got a warehouse called computer WH. And then for security reasons, I've got a couple of roles created here. Because this is a demo account, I don't have AD integrated, etc. But you should get the idea. And then I need to run some bunch of privileges on the governance database and the data quality schema. And also, I need to give permission to create an event table in the data quality schema to this role called DQ monitor role. So the purpose of the DQ monitor role, which is a name that I have given, you can really call anything that makes sense to you, is to that role will be doing the data quality monitoring work. Whereas the loyalty role that you have here is going to be the role that is going to be accessed by the people who have the customer table. Couple of other things. This is really important. If you're creating a data metric functions, you want to be able to grant execute on those data metric functions to the role that owns the tables. And then further down, I have created an event table here. So remember I said you don't have to create this table when this feature goes into public preview. For now, we just have to create it and then make that your Snowflake accounts event table so that the data quality results could be written into that. And the metric information that is created is a little bit, how do I say, not very human friendly. Therefore, it is possible to write a nice select statement which goes and, like pick up the table name, the schema name, metric ID, metric name, metric database, etc. You can create a view. That's what this command is doing. And over here is these statements here are just for me to create a fake database for customer loyalty. And you can see I've created a table here and loaded some data with some made up with some email addresses that are not right. So how do we do a datametric function to check the invalid email? So it's simple as just saying create datametric function, and then you can specify, like the projects to check the metric, evaluate the emails and pass the results. So in Snowflake, whenever you create something like a datametric function or a database or a schema, it always grant permissions on that. So this command here is saying, okay, I've created a datametric function. Now go and you grant usage permissions on it to the loyalty role, because it's going to be looking at it. The other nice thing is it is also possible to set the datametric schedule. This example is 5 minutes. You can also say trigger on changes, and there's different, like you can also specify something like a cron schedule to check the metrics. So what does it look like? So if I'm a data engineer and I want to do some ad hoc checks without, like too much hassle, then I should be able to just write a select, and then I specify the name of my metric, and then I pass the select statement with the column that I want to check the data, and it should tell me the results. Now, I created a metric function. I've got granted some permissions, but I haven't really attached this metric function to the to my customers' customer tables email. So you can say alter table customers, add data metric function, and then you give the details of the metric function, and then you specify the column that you want to do the metric checks on. And few more things in here. I've been playing around with this, so we should run. Okay, it will come back, and if you want to find out, okay, what metrics are there, if you want to get some details on some additional details on the invalid email count metric function, you can just use the query this information schema data metric function references to get the details. And finally, remember we created a view earlier, so that view I have been if you query it, it should come up with some results to say that so this is today before I came here. The problems with live demos, just in case if it didn't work. So I had to make sure that the script ran okay, and you can see that it's done some metric checks and recorded the results here. You can also see on the right hand side it does some unique counts and invalid counts, etc. If you decide that you don't want to okay, these are some of the out-of-the-box metric functions, things like null count, unique count, min and max, and there's I think about 12 or so out-of-the-box metric functions available. More will be added as you go through in the near future, and then. And then thereafter, you just like the invalid email count, you should be able to just check the null counts and unique counts and etc. So you might say that's so there's more than one way of checking data quality. You could do this 100 different ways. But the advantage is that these functions are capabilities available out of the box, and more will be added to the Snowflake core capability. It will be part of core capability. And if you have business rules and various checks, then you can then create custom metrics, put them in a governance database, then give people the permission to use them. So then you have it's all consistent and the results are stored in a secure place. So that was a very fast data quality monitoring overview. Any questions?